Oh shit.
Joseph, did you just walk up?
Joseph, watch out behind you.
What do you mean?
Oh, Joseph, you. Okay, I want you.
Oh, dude, I unlocked suicide. Let's go.
Helldivers 2 is really fucking good. No, but seriously, this early into 2024, I think we have a serious Game of the Year contender. In a year that was slated to be pretty slow compared to the greatest year of gaming nominee that was 2023, Helldivers 2 has given gamers like my friends and I
Vietnam.
Oh, the napalm.
a lot to be happy with. So a few weeks in, you've either seen the memes, the TikToks, or even have a Helldiver in your friend group praising how good the game is. So what is it like playing Helldivers 2? And what can you expect if you suit up and dive into a war for peace, democracy, and wait, why are we pushing democracy onto bugs and robots? Helldivers 2 is a third-person shooter, which is a sequel to its originally top-down shooter predecessor. This action-packed sequel is a continuation of that story and universe 100 years after the events of the first game. The bugs we use for resources and the robots whose lineage was erased are all fighting back full force, and hopefully nothing else decides to invade and make things worse. First off, every time you open the game, it plays the main cinematic that is also a propaganda trailer. It's the recruitment trailer that emphasizes the threats that the enemy will pose and how you need to sign up and be a hero for Super Earth and democracy. You can easily skip it, but rather than just being an annoying splash screen, it actually serves its purpose as a constant reminder. See, Helldivers 2 is very blatantly inspired by the 1997 film Starship Troopers, a film made as a satire piece on militarism and fascism. However, media literacy isn't a skill that we can expect 8 billion people to be fluent in, so many people miss the point. However, Helldivers 2 is a video game, and as such a much more interactive medium, so the horrors of war are more apparent to divers on the front lines, right? Nah, it's way too fun to drop a 500-kilogram bomb and call in an orbital laser as you and your squad mates get surrounded by armies of ravenous bugs while you try to launch a nuke. But wait, why is one of the missions to terminate an illegal broadcast? Since when do bugs... Bugs do not care about democracy. Robots do not need to be liberated. Yet here we are throwing ourselves yelling the only good bug is a dead bug and spill oil. You know, from the moment you drop, you're almost always going to be surrounded by enemies. And once the beehive is kicked, it probably won't stop kicking back. There is absolutely zero time to think about why you're doing something, and you end up pushing yourself to just get the thing done and get out alive. This constant hectic feeling is reinforced by the reinforcement system. Yeah, you're not Master Chief. You are not a super soldier that can punch a tank. You can't even one-punch a small bug. You will die many, many, many times. This goes doubly so for your squad mate. You get 5 lives a person, which you all start to share from a pool. So yes, if one person dies 20 times and then you die, your other squad mates need to survive for 2 minutes before they can spawn another you. If you all die when no reinforcements are available, then the outcome of the mission is decided on whether or not you completed the objectives. Yeah, the game doesn't care if you make it out alive. It cares that the mission is done. You are expendable. One soldier of presumably billions, and one defrosted chicken patty of the dozens on your ship's freezer. These are all Helldivers, and as a Helldiver, you and your 4-person squad are a band of undertrained and under-equipped soldiers that resemble the ODSTs from Halo. I say you're undertrained because while the tutorial does teach you how to shoot, dive, throw down orbital strikes, and heal yourself, that's all it takes to get you out into the intergalactic battlefield. Imagine my surprise when holding down the reload button brought up a menu that let me choose the firing mode on my weapon, or the way a misclick took me into the far more accurate first-person mode. And oh yeah, reloading will waste the ammo in your clip, so don't mash the reload after every shot unless you only want to shoot 6 bullets. These things were never specified, nor is the fact that friendly fire is also always on.
Fucking dealing with shit.
Whatever you're dealing with. Oh,
I started blasting. Bang! Bang!
close to the. Oh, Nathan.
I know. Joseph, I'm sorry. I was trying to defend. Guys, that's so fucking great.
Regardless of this, with the fast-paced nature of the game, it leads to your next spawn troop being that much more proficient than the last. You're gonna get all this experience from what enemies are weak to, where the weak points are, what weapons are effective against which, and all this sorts of information that overall will add up over time, and you'll feel way more powerful, even though you're not really getting that much of an upgrade in terms of your overall arsenal or even armor. There's also like no health bars or damage numbers popping up all over like in new shooters, and there isn't even a persistent map. You have to pull out your map from looking at your wrist on pressing tab or whatever. You have to pin an objective and then close the map and use your compass to find your way around. This all leads to a way more immersive experience, and it's one of those games that just feels so good. A game that feels like it was made by talented developers and run by competent leadership. Speaking of the leadership, the CEO of the studio, Arrowhead Studios, has gone on record for standing on business against pointless monetization, toxicity, and corporate greed. When the game launched, it suffered from its success as their generous 400,000 player cap servers were not nearly enough to fit even the PC player base alone, let alone the PS5 player base that it launched on too. Keep in mind that Helldivers 1 peaked at 7,000 players at any one point. Now, a few weeks after launch, more server space has been added, and an idle kick timer has been implemented to prevent server campers from taking up a slot while they sleep. So yeah, they've done a really good job so far on keeping this game up. Going back to the monetization for a bit, this game is live service and implements both a battle pass and gear. But don't skip away just yet or call off the game immediately. The Battle Pass, while not just cosmetic, also isn't really that important. You see, it contains everything from emotes to boosters, and even weapons and skins with bonuses and stats, but this goes to both the free and premium Battle Pass. Everything in the game, including the premium Battle Pass, can be unlocked with in-game currency, which the game is very generous with. Even then, you can buy the 2 outfits in the rotating store with around $5 in premium currency, and the highest tier of currency is $20. On top of that, the premium currency itself is for all the cosmetic stuff. To actually unlock the gear that mostly matters, like weapons and boosters and all that, you need to play the game and successfully complete missions to earn medals, which then unlock the Battle Pass stuff. This is pretty refreshing and another reminder of the better times in gaming, kind of like Halo Reach, you know, when you had to play missions and earn whatever that currency was, and then you'd unlock the next helmet or the next loot armor thing. I don't know. So while we're on unlocking stuff for a bit, there's also the element of upgrading your ship. Right after the tutorial, you get your own ship, you name it. Mine's changes every day. But you can upgrade it with materials you find on missions. This ranges from common samples to the more super rare samples. This is actually way more grindy than I thought, but it doesn't really affect the gameplay that much. Ultimately, these upgrades only lead to, say, spawning with more ammo, or stratagems falling faster. So you're not really changing the gameplay loop, but rather it's just giving you a slight upgrade. I say these are grindy because you often need dozens of these resources, and you only pick up 1 or 2 at a time per section of the mission map. Then if you die, you drop these samples, and with all the stuff going on in the battlefield, you're probably not going to be able to go and get them again, so they'll probably be good and gone. Even then, resources collected are shared among your squad, so there's no need to grief each other over who picks them up. Anyway, I realize I've gotten this far without really talking about combat. If you've played Metal Gear Solid 5, then this is exactly how it feels to control your character. Like, no joke, there have been side-by-side comparisons to how similar they are. You either walk, sprint, crouch, or dive, and it feels exactly the same in the best way possible. The only real difference is in the moment-to-moment combat. The first thing you might notice is that your aiming reticle isn't really telling you where your shots will land. That's because all of the guns here have their own weight and recoil and shot patterns that you kind of have to learn gradually. Sometimes there will be this little gray circle that's actually closer to where your shots will land based on where your gun is pointing and how you're moving. It really adds to that feeling of helplessness when you're being chased down by some tanky enemies and your gun isn't fully there yet, but you just gotta start blasting. The other big difference is the use of stratagem. While Snake was mostly meant to play as a stealthy character, your Helldiver is meant to play guns blazing. It is possible to stealth your way through missions, but once shit hits the fan, it's probably not easy to put that shit back where it came from. So when that happens, you're gonna have to call in some support that comes from your ship, be it a guard dog, which is this drone with a gun on it. It'll help you kill enemies near you, or a 500 kilogram bomb meant to take out basically anything it comes in contact with. You get to choose 4 of these per mission, and they're on cooldown once you call them. You can also call in a support weapon like a railgun or an armor-piercing rifle to help with those bigger enemies. Calling these in the middle of combat, as well as trying to reinforce your friends, is like trying to speedrun the Konami code on a Bop It, or the equivalent of unlocking your chastity belt you forgot you were wearing when you decided to hold in your poop. Speaking of the enemies, while there are only 2 factions right now, Now, I think you'll find that the enemy variety within these factions is more than enough. A lot of these enemies will even be annoying, like you'll audibly groan when you see them spawn. There's enemies that will chase you down, enemies that will blast you with rockets, enemies that go invisible, bigger, tankier enemies, and even some stuff that can one-shot you if you're not careful. When you play this game yourself, I think you'll see why things get so chaotic so fast and why you end up dying so much. So really, that's it for the gameplay loop for you, the individual. Next, I want to talk a little bit more about the overall live service loop, where the multiplayer stuff comes in. Helldivers 2 is social on a super interesting scale I personally haven't seen before. What really got me into this game wasn't the clips or the memes online, though those helped. It's the sense of community that this game just oozes. Other than the tons of fun clips I can post of my time with my friends, this game is unlike many others because of two big things. Number one, there's no PvP.
Hey, I'm right behind Joseph now. Joseph, help me.
Fuck.
Some people criticize that a shooter as fluid and fast-paced as this needs a PvP mode, but really, I think the game needs to avoid it, at least for now. I can see sort of a civil war thing develop in this game with players allowed to pick sides, but the developers have come out and said that they want to avoid PvP to avoid the toxicity that comes with that gameplay mode. I mean, hell, some people are being toxic anyway with senseless team killing or refusing to contribute to the objective for selfish resource farming. Regardless of that, the premium and free battle pass stuff and the gear that's in it, all of that equipment, stratagems, and boosters with different in-game stats and buff, well, those might throw a wrench into the PvP thing, right? Then it kind of does become pay to win. PvE boosting is kind of like, okay, why not? Like, it's for your own benefit, you're not hurting anyone else. But okay, now the biggest thing, the overall big thing that made me buy this game is the campaign that is shared through the player base. The game map is centered around Super Earth, and then you get a view of all the planets around it. On the right side of the map so far is the Terminator or bug infestation, and on the left side are the automatons or the robots. There was a big push around the launch for this one planet called Malevolon Creek, however you want to say it. Tons of propaganda around this planet specifically. It was like called the Vietnam of Helldivers, and as of a few weeks in, Malevolon Creek has actually been lost, and now nobody can play on that planet. The automaton advance has been pushed that much more forward, and it leaves us one less planet to play on. So how did we lose the planet? Well, each mission can be either a failure or a success. Funny enough, you don't even have to survive for the mission to be successful. Completing the main objective and dying any time before extraction after running out of reinforcements will end the mission successfully. Similarly, you can extract without completing objectives and fail the mission. This is what most of the resource farmers are doing, since extracting will let you get away with all of your resources. And missions are done in sets, and how many missions you do depends on the difficulty, ranging from 0 to 9, 0 being trivial and 9 being Helldive. On the lower difficulties, you'll only have to do 1 or 2 missions with 1 or 2 simple objectives. These are easy enough that you can even technically do them on your own. On the higher difficulties, you'll need to pray that you are level 20 or above at least, and have unlocked enough stratagems that you and your squad mates are also experienced and geared enough to survive the endless waves of the toughest enemies that the game will drop on you. And maybe you can even begin to hope to complete an objective or 2. So yeah, if you succeed, you'll see a little progress bar move up with your squad's impact, which is actively pushing back the invasion. It's only a tiny % of a percent, but with everybody playing at once, it kind of adds up. So if you fail though, you don't make any contribution and the invasion continues. It's kind of been funny watching people fight online about whether the planet is lost because of looters and people that are not contributing, or if people are just trying with stuff that's way too hard for them. You know, it's a little toxic, and that's where the Civil War concept could kind of work out, but overall, the vibe is still very much unified, and we're all working towards a common goal. It's just we all have different ways of getting around that goal. Either way, the game is live, and it's actually being handled beautifully as the studio is running the story against our bumbling operations. The power fantasy is handled super well, since you may die a lot, but that doesn't mean you won't take a couple of dozen enemies with you using napalm on your way out. Overall, Helldivers 2 has been super fun and has brought me and my friends together from our busy adult lives back to the Discord server where we spent hours on Siege for hours at a time in the pandemic. I'm proud and happy to be a Helldiver and to be participating in the war effort, fascism aside, with my friends and the community. I hope the game manages to keep its hooks in us for a long time and has a long legacy. And with all the stuff that's on the way seemingly, including vehicles and more weapons, it seems we're going to be riding this train for a while. Developers, take notes. Please study from games like Baldur's Gate 3 and Helldivers 2 if you want to make good games that sell. You will make way more money from a good game than by trying and failing to make as much money as FIFA and Fortnite. Their lightning in a bottle is your next house fire. Think of the shareholders, why don't you? Anyways, I've said my piece. Go play Helldivers, or don't. I'm having fun. Until next time, enjoy a few more clips of me and my friends failing miserably.
Get down, Mr. President!
Fucking dog.
Dude, my dog is going to town. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, your dog is going to town on me.
Good.
I'm throwing a grenade your way, Joseph. Don't.
Oh shit.
Joseph, don't stop running, don't stop.
Oh my god.
Madam Web made a Madam Webillion dollar.
Oh.
Why me?
Somebody in, call somebody in.
Ah.
Up, down, right, left, up, go. Not in the river.
The missile knows where it is at all times. It knows this because it knows where it isn't, by subtracting where it is from where it isn't, or where it isn't from where it is.
Wait, what are these explosions?
No.
It's pretty good though. I like Heineken.
You can have an opinion.
I